Like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, or this will be in your bed tonight. Dear IOLs who ended a relationship with their best friend. What was your breaking point? He ran off with my GF after swearing for weeks that he would never do such a thing. The best part was that I was best man at his wedding and he was married at the time. Honestly, looking back on it, I'm glad it happened. I got to kick 2 pieces of shit out of my life on the same day. I met my wife 2 years later and I've never been happier. Edit. Holy moly, did this blow up overnight? Thanks for all the awards and such. I'm glad to have struck a chord with so many people. And thanks for all the replies and well wishes. I hope everyone gets an experience like I got and can make lemonade out of lemons. I'm glad you had a happy ending. Thanks, I'm pretty stoked about it too. She helped my ex break into my email to prove I was cheating on him. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. How that is so sad. I misread your comment as how is that so bad. Whether we spoke or hung out was fully dependent on me initiating it. So when I decided to step back, we stopped talking. Edit. For some context, by the time we stopped talking, it was the end of high school and we had both become completely different from each other. So this wasn't sudden. I think I tried to hang on to the friendship simply because it was the longest one I had, which unfortunately wasn't reciprocated. I can relate. I'm not even that outgoing, but it hurts when I am the one holding the friendship and the only one initiating a conversation. If it helps, some of us who are bad at initiating can be in slumps of depression or anxiety, and not initiating conversations is one of many things with what feels like an insurmountable barrier of unmotivation. I, for one, then feel like human garbage for being such a bad friend on top of everything that's falling apart. He promised me he would pay my rent with our business profits while I went out of town, but instead bought a truck with our money and told my landlord that I had the money but refused to pay. My family ended up homeless. Bro, is he in jail? That is awful, I'm so sorry. No, I didn't have any money to fight back. I had to put everything I had into keeping my kids out of sleeping in a car. Things are better now. I always tried to keep away from corporate work, but it pays the bills. Ditching me for a better something for the 100th time while I waited outside a concert with his ticket. That's so awful. I ended my friendship with a friend because she decided to go to a music festival without me despite me literally asking her if she wanted to go and her saying she didn't want to because of this. People suck. I had my ex-friend do something similar. I was home from university for the last time because my mom was moving. I was there only for a week. I asked her if she wanted to go to the bar with me on like Monday. Edit. I had asked her on Mon for the weekend, not to go on Mon, because I'd never actually been to our local bar. She gave me a bunch of excuses. I tried to convince her again on Thursday. She told me she was busy. Okay, fine. So the next night I found other girls to go with. She was there with people that weren't really friendly to me, and honestly I wouldn't have cared. I knew she was friends with them. The lying bothered me a lot though. He married a woman whose upbringing had resulted in her being repulsed by physical contact and sex in general. To try to fill the void in his life, he made a pass at my wife. I have not talked to him since she told me what he did. Wouldn't he have discovered how she was while they were dating? I bet he did, and thought he could handle it. But after committing to spending the rest of his life with her and actually living that life, he realized it was harder than he thought and not what he actually wanted for himself. Just a guess though, I could be totally wrong. My best friend and I met as entry-level employee. We both helped each other and elevated each other over the years. I stayed in corporate and middle management and made good money. He went into business for himself. His company was struggling, so he asked me for a favor, to quit my job, help him build his company. He could only pay for 1/2 of what I make, but promised in success we split the profits and share credit. He made it also sound really appealing having a best friend as a boss. Come on, it'll be fun. So I did. 6 months later I landed our first $1 million client. Money rolls in and I ask him, when will I start getting a split of the profit distribution? What profit distribution? He started taking back everything we talked about. No, you heard me wrong. I never said half the profits. Suppose you're wondering, was there a written agreement? No. Yes, I'm just that stupid to trust a person I used to spend vacations together, talked to every day and treated him like a brother. I was the idiot for being too trusting, but at the same time I could not be his friend. I left his company. That client I introduced him to took their business elsewhere when the company was in breach of their agreement. His company went bankrupt, and he got a divorce because his wife, who did the accounting, saw a receipt of his that didn't make sense. Looked it up and found out it was a Russian brothel. Yes, he's that stupid too. I went back to a corporate job, with lesson learned to never do anything without formalizing it in paper. People were impressed I landed that $1 million client, so I actually came out better and was highly recruited. Yep, a friend of mine just invested £42,000 into their friend's restaurant, and now the wife keeps saying they have no money to pay her back despite selling the restaurant and buying a new business. Always get everything in writing. Okay, so your friend needs to go and take them to court. First they will need to get as much evidence as possible, even voice recordings discussing the amounts. It will take some time. It will get messy, but they need to get the money back. They probably borrowed from other people too. He had a friend that stole from me, defended the friend instead of backing me. At that point you might as well have carried the other side when he stole it. What did he steal, if you don't mind my asking? Dude stole my phone and wallet out of my locker while I was at work. It was obviously him, as his keycard was the only one an hour out between my times in. I had a suicide attempt and they both wanted nothing to do with me once I stopped being fun. I am so sorry. That's awful. Yeah, thanks. I was also living with them at the time. Guess who got kicked out? Then in my college town, with nowhere to live, I turned to my aunt and uncle. They didn't want me living with them in case they came home to their house and I was dead. I'm good now, but still, like, come on, PPL. When my wife ran off with him, the best revenge is to let him have her. It's the old joke, my wife ran off with my best friend. I miss him terribly. They became a meth addict and blamed everyone else for their problems. I tried everything I could to help them for over a year. I ruined a lot of my own life trying to be there for them. It was a hard lesson to learn that sometimes the people that you really love and care about are beyond help. It hurts to remember the person that you used to be and admit to myself that the person I knew is gone. Same here. My best friend since elementary school fell hard into drugs and alcohol. She would embarrass me being wasted and trying to get high off stupid shit around my other friends. The final straw for me was she did drugs and drank while she was pregnant, had a baby who was developmentally delayed, and didn't take care of him properly, leaving her elderly grandpa to pick up the slack. After I cut ties with her, she ended up having another kid. She got both of them taken away. She ended up in jail a few times. Not my problem. She did drugs and drank while she was pregnant, had a baby who was developmentally delayed. My god, I feel so terrible for children who never got a full, proper shot at life because of their parents' decisions before they were even born. My wife did everything by the book when she was pregnant. Even when the doctor said a certain small amount of caffeine per day was okay, she said nope. Not even gonna flirt with it. Anything on which opinion was split, she 100% avoided to eliminate all risk. Our daughter still had serious internal birth defects. Fortunately, they were fixable with surgery and she's doing great. But my wife sometimes blames herself despite my assurances that she couldn't have been more responsible. I got sober and turned my life around. She wanted to stay in the same spot on her couch, pretend her issues didn't exist, and make someone else responsible for her sobriety. She was firmly entrenched in the belief she was a victim and couldn't comprehend being in charge of her own life. It got to the point I was having anxiety before I went to hang out with her and I couldn't take it anymore. That is terrible. I hope she is sober now though. I hope so too. Couldn't say for sure. Well, when he started constantly bullying me, I took the hint. Yeah, that'll do it. I ended a friendship over something similar. We've always had a relationship kind of like this, so I bullied him back. But I never liked doing that. He would genuinely say that he was morally superior and a better person than me, which I always found ironic. He's my only friend, but recently I stopped endorsing that behavior. We used to speak every day and now we speak once every week or two. When his pride is down a bit and he calls me instead of the other way around. She had a tendency of being selfish, while making me feel guilty that I was the selfish one. After spending my wedding day focused on her drama, I kept her at arm's length. When the birth of my first child was also overshadowed by her drama, I cut her loose. Gaslighting is terrible. I still worry I'm being too self-centered. That is terrible. Your special day made into someone else's drama day. If she purposely steals the spotlight on important milestones of your life, I think it's safe to say that she's the problem, not you. I mean, sure, she probably has some issues, but don't we all? Gay best friend in high school. I came out to him as bi. He said, no, you're not. You're gay or you're straight. You have to choose. Bi erasure is real. Folks say sexuality is a spectrum but then insist you're one way or the other if your preferences aren't 50/50. For every man I find attractive, I find 10 women. I just put that part of my life in a box under the bed as a result. I waited to see how long it would take for him to text me first. When it happens, I'll let you know. I'm doing that with all my friends right now. No one has texted yet. Going on 6 months. Edit. These are friends that I constantly would message, asking if they wanted to hang out or just to chat for a bit. It'll be 5 years for me in April. We dated a few times and it just never worked out. It was hard to go back to being friends after that. Yeah, I can see how that would be awkward. I have a similar story. I dated my best female friend for a few months after I had a hard breakup with my GF. I was more into her than the opposite. Also probably because she wasn't sure she liked girls or not. We had struggled to continue as friends, but we found a way to. Fast forward 6 years. Our friendship is a little distant cold as I am living abroad and facing some depression symptoms. Homesick plus coronavirus plus 2020 sucks. And she started dating again, an ex-BF I had heard a lot of shit of, and I never stated my opinion about it. But as he left his sick wife to be with my friend, is not a great impression. Anyway, don't date your friends, folks, unless you want to try the all or nothing at all hand. She did lots of really shitty things and gaslighted the hell out of everything to make me apologize for them. The breaking point was when she said, I know you think you really love Fianca's name, but really, they should be preemptively raped to get rid of some of that pride. Take them down a notch. I was horrified. I ended the game night as quickly and safely as I could and ended the friendship immediately after. She tried to explain why she was right. Then she tried to figure out how this was my fault and I was unreasonable for saying that she was wrong. At most she was willing to admit to being tactless. 6 months later she reached out again, but it was to apologize for my misunderstanding her words and offering to forgive me. Apparently she should have anticipated I wasn't ready to hear hard truths about the love of my life. Yep, no, I don't need that at all. Still not friends with her. Edit. Corrected Fianca to fiancé. Bro, that's the most disgusting thing a person could say. Like, holy shit. Yep, no regrets. After I ended the friendship, it was easy to see all sorts of things that were messed up about it. I couldn't see that at the time though. I just knew I couldn't keep a friendship with someone who would wish something like that on the love of my life. She did me a favor showing her colors. Finally came out as bisexual and he decided that meant I was trying to duck both him and his wife. Did he already think you wanted to duck his wife? This is the real question based on the language used. Sounds like it was already an unhealthy relationship. They broke my Lego Death Star. That is unforgivable. You may fire when ready. Walked in on him ducking my wife. 25 years of friendship down the toilet for some kitten. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for the gold kind IOR. Now to answer some questions. I clocked him. Divorced her. Got a really good divorce attorney. During the mediation she tried to get alimony from me playing the victim. The cell phones were in my name so my lawyer had no problem getting all the texts between the two of them, and during that mediation my lawyer started reading them off and about halfway down the page her lawyer said to stop. She got the house. I didn't want it even though I probably could have got it if I wanted so due to the circumstances. Divorce got finalized and I walked away free. I did go down a deep dark hole drinking away my problems. Left the job I was at and started a new career. Talk about turnabout being fair play. A few years after the incident, I was at one of my favorite watering holes and I guess she was driving by, seen my Jeep in front of the bar, walked in with a black eye. I looked at her and said, so I guess things with you and scumbag are going well. She told me she lost everything and was sorry and then asked me for money. I laughed at her and told her not a chance. I met a wonderful woman and had my daughter, who is now 5 years old, in the light of my life. So to both my exes, friend and wife, thank you. Goes to show that the length of a friendship doesn't determine its quality. Did you ditch them both? I sure did. Best thing that ever happened to me in the long run. Stole $400 from me when he found out the girl he liked actually liked me. We were in our mid-20s. High school never ends. Did you ever pursue that relationship? Ducked her. Recorded it. But it's all that male ass and balls angle. Sent it to him anyway. Was using my house as a staging excuse point so he could duck around on his wife, who was also a friend of mine. I was best man in their wedding. Ghost edit. I've mentioned this before, and it strangely needed clarifying that none of this came to light until after the fact. We both moved away to college and didn't keep in check. Haven't seen her in 3 years. Not sure she'd recognize me. I was great friends with this girl in high school. We graduated in 2009. Went our separate ways for college and lost touch. Long story short, a random Facebook message in 2018 led to her standing as a bridesmaid at my wedding on the 20th of February 20. Didn't speak to my best male friend for almost 3 years. He also didn't speak to me. Figured I was busy with a new girlfriend. Fortunately, we were easily able to reconnect. Still amazing friends. Who else is here wondering why their best friend left because they were ghosted and never got any closure? Obligatory edit. Thank you for my first award. And this is my top upvoted comment too. I guess my crippling sadness over my ex-bestie, who I haven't talked to in like 5-6 years, is good for something. Me. One day I realized he wasn't responding to my texts anymore. We live a few cities away from each other, so sometimes we wouldn't see each other for months. But it got longer. After I realized he was gone, I replayed all of our last moments and conversed together, trying to figure out what happened. I searched up all I could find of him, and while I don't know the truth, my guess of what happened was that he had a series of major crises happen to him. Parents divorced. First unemployment after getting jobs effortlessly all of his life. GF of 7 years broke up with him. And maybe I didn't realize the impact it had on him. Retreating his steps. He was probably lonelier than he let on. Every time we hung out he was always upbeat and cheery. Now he's just gone from my life. He stopped using social media. Even I don't know where he lives. Though some of our mutual friends tell me he's alright. I have gone through our last conversations over and over in my head and can't figure out what happened. I reached out 3 times after they stopped talking to me just to see how things were going and just got short one-word answers with no reciprocation. I just had to take the hint and stop trying. Really sucks. They were my only good friend in the city I live in and I had never had one of my friends drop me like that. It's been a few months and I don't think they want anything to do with me. I'm so sad. Edit. Thank you for the hug. She was just accepting failure every time. She was dealt a horrible hand in life and inherited her dead mom's dilapidated hoarding house and moved in. I offered to help her to clean it countless times, but the last time I went in it looked like it needed condemning. She also dated a strung out deadbeat guy and they are so toxic together. Definitely lots of Xanax and probably heroin involved. The final straw was they bought a husky with no previous dog knowledge. Her nor her boyfriend could afford flea meds and the dog was likely anemic from the fleas. I spent my own money to help with her poor dog to clean it up. The next day her boyfriend was asking on FB where he could buy an Xbox or PC for the Lolo. I couldn't stand the thought of not coughing up the $100 to get flea meds and a flea bath for your clearly neglected dog, but they can afford Xanax and boxes. I blocked her on everything. We were friends for 10 years, but I couldn't watch her become such a piece of shit anymore. Did you steal the dog? Please tell me you stole her dog. Please steal the dog. When I realized her childhood family was too dysfunctional and she was taking her anger/frustration out on me since mine was not, She was always belittling me and talking over me, and I just realized it wasn't worth it. She was funny and we liked the same things, but if I spent more than 2 hours with her, I came home feeling worn down. I've been there. It's that moment of realizing I wasn't all that introverted. I just had terrible friends. Wouldn't come to my wedding even though he introduced my wife, and I tried to explain to him there was nothing I wanted more other than for him to be there. His girlfriend at the time didn't want to go because she was insecure with her appearance. We haven't seen each other since. My wife and I will be celebrating our 33rd anniversary soon. Same thing happens to me. Asked him to be at my wedding a year previous and he said yes. Asked where he was on the day and he said he had double booked on the same day. So he decided that his date night with his now ex-GF, was more important than my wedding. Not spoken to him since. One of my best friends met his now wife online a couple weeks before my wedding. He was invited, was all ready to come, but then they met and dated every night for quite a while, I think. Anyhow, he skipped my wedding to date her, ended up marrying her a few short months later. She's the best thing that ever happened to him, so I cut him some slack. They became extremely egotistical and cokey. I told them so and called them out. They got pissed at me and said I was just jealous of how cool they were. This was year 6. Glad I got rid of him. Was he actually really cool though? Well, the real question is how many Lego Star Wars sets he has. It feels terrible looking back because it's obviously now that he had some kind of undiagnosed mental issue or chemical imbalance. But at the time it was just a series of unhinged and destructive acts from him that caused our whole friend group to pull back from him. I was closest to him and I was the last holdout, but I eventually just stopped answering his calls as well. The first major incident was at a party where I asked him to limit himself because he had shown himself in the past to have issues with control and we didn't know anyone there. He destroyed an entire shelf of pint glasses and puked in their shower less than 30 minutes after arriving. Second incident, he came over with me to hang out with some people I had really only known for a few days. He got really just too high and locked himself in their bathroom and took a shower before passing out on the floor after falling asleep on a girl's couch we barely knew after a late night D&D game. The girl woke up to find him in her room just watching her sleep. He mumbled, "Sorry, I thought you were awake," before leaving hastily, driving some friends up to a nearby-ish mountain town. He started raving about death and the great mystery while driving wildly too fast around steep corners. My friends told me he was all over the road and they were close to dying multiple times. It just kept going on and on. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more interviews.